Hello, my name is Jennifer. I'm born in New Zealand and I work as a registered nurse in mental health. The good intentions of this bill I do not dispute. This is in regards to gay, lesbian and bisexual people. I do not believe any person or group of people have the right to determine someone's individual sexual preferences. And the lesbian and gay people in New Zealand can get married. So when this bill was announced, I was wondering what all the fuss was about. This bill has included into it gender identity. This is a fairly new concept that has been written into New Zealand legislation and guidelines that underneath it all is linked to some not so good intentions. This part of the bill I dispute due to the fact that no one can change sex, and those who are struggling with accepting the body that they have, opting to say they are the opposite, have a mental disorder called gender dysphoria. Last year I was introduced to gender pronouns. As a registered nurse, I like to keep up with what is going on. That led me down the rabbit hole to puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and the promotion of one being born in the wrong body. I understand that a biologically born male cannot become a female. I noticed how if I was to use the affirmation model, then a male can request that I call him she. This is something that does not sit well with me, as I understand the negative consequences this can have not only on sex-based human rights, but on the individual themselves and others around them. Further down the track, why would I, as a registered nurse, support someone to take non-reversible puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, or get genital surgery and double mastectomies? Why would I support children being sterilised? Why would I support a young female starting breast binding? Here is an example for you. A young 15-year-old girl turns up at ED with fever, shortness of breath, and rash on her neck. She is lethargic and weak. She gives some history to the doctor and is wearing a hoodie, sweatpants, and has short hair. The doctor does some physical observation, to which they discover that this young girl has been breast binding. Not only this, she has been doing it too tight. It is cut into her flesh, it is now infected, and she has bruising all over her ribs. On further questioning, the young girl says she's with a group of girls online that have started doing this because they don't like their breasts and wanted to appear more like a boy. I do not celebrate this. I do not see this as a young girl finding her true self. This is rapid onset gender dysphoria, which has been discussed by Lisa Lippman. In the area that I work, there has been a small increase in gender dysphoric youth, and I can 100% tell you that all of the research is correct. These youth are vulnerable. They have had loss, grief, sexual abuse, changes in relationships, are possibly autistic, and have negative thoughts about themselves, and they are being exposed to the trans narrative online. This is disassociation, this is self-harm, this is confusion. I have had a number of lesbian and gay people say to me that they often struggled with who they were when they were younger, when figuring out their sexuality. The Royal Australian and New Zealand College of Psychiatrists have just released their position statement, which includes a sentence that states, fully explore the person's gender identity and the psychosocial context from which this has emerged. These youth don't act like the opposite sex. They merely dress to what they want to wear and play with things they feel like. This does not by any means mean that this boy or girl is born in the wrong body. From numerous studies and what I have witnessed with my very eyes is that these children grow out of their gender dysphoria and may be lesbian, gay or bisexual, and we wouldn't want to be transing the gay away. These children need support to learn, grow and develop into themselves. Interfering with this and taking on the trans child narrative is not only detrimental to this child's development, but it places a label that can lead to drugs and surgery. We have been able to be warned of the consequences of the affirmation model by the story of Kira Bell in the UK, which I hope the Select Committee are well informed of her story. If not, I suggest you do so. The current guidelines that have been produced by the Ministry of Health are biased and dangerous. Until this government realises that a deliberate attempt has been made to glorify medical transition for youth, then young children's bodies will remain at risk of being medically irreversibly altered. And this is merely because no one took the time to ask some hard but simple questions. For all the clinicians out there that have spoken up and all those that do not support the affirmation model, that prefer the watchful wait, natural, holistic and psychotherapy model, I applaud you. These children and youth need our help to develop into strong, independent and successful adults. Their parents need us, they are struggling too. So my recommendation is to remove gender identity from this bill. Its original intention was to help lesbian and gay and bisexual people. It is absolute nonsense to prosecute parents for not going along with their child's preferred pronouns. We are witness to the detrimental effects of this by taking a look at the court cases internationally where children have been removed from parents' care and been given irreversible medical interventions without parents' consent. Review documents and information produced by Gender Minorities Aotearoa. They are active participants in undermining and destroying female sex-based rights in New Zealand. Remove the gender-affirming guidelines produced by the Ministry of Health and review their content and puberty blockers. Remove the sexual education guidelines that were released in September 2020 and review their content. I know for a fact that these guidelines do not uphold sex-based human rights. I know these guidelines are interfering with a child's healthy growth and development. Thank you.